Good morning and welcome to this week's Wednesday with Warbus. I'm here with the nurses for Altus Public Schools, and we're going to kind of give you an update on a few things that are going on in the nursing world in Altus Public Schools. It's pretty exciting. We have Nurse Pickett. She's our senior nurse and she's the supervisor. And then we have Nurse Tyson and Nurse Walker. So they're going to talk to us about some exciting things we have going on. The first thing we want to talk about is Mrs. Allen worked really hard with the nurses to write a grant that we did not attempt last year because the rules were different, but this year she applied for a grant with the State Department of Education for $300,000. And one of the major obstacles, I guess, is that we are required to attempt a good faith effort on testing at least 5% of our population for COVID. And so that's the main caveat on us getting the money. The good thing about the $300,000 is we can pay nurses' salaries with it. We can pay custodial salaries because of the extra cleaning they do for COVID, the screening that our nurses do for COVID that they do every single day. And they also can buy a lot of cleaning supplies. So it's an extra $300,000. The exciting thing about it is if things go as planned, next year the same grant will be worth $600,000. So that's the main purpose of the COVID testing. So if you hear that we're doing COVID testing at the schools, it's not because we think there's an outbreak or anything. We're just trying to keep our kids safe and trying to accomplish the $300,000. So Nurse Pickett, why don't you tell us first about how the process is going to work.
Okay.
We're going to be able to test at every site.
Yes. Yes.
And what will that look like?
It's not hard at all. I've tested a few children so far, and they have to have parental consent before we test them. I've done some adults. It's just like a home test, so it doesn't go real far in. And so we've got some posters we're going to start putting out. I have had some family members of employees that wanted them tested, so they came to me to get tested.
So anyone can test that wants.
Yes.
It's completely voluntary. It can be anyone in the community. We've also even talked about maybe setting up next fall at a football game and testing anyone that wants to be tested. So if they want to be tested, they have to fill out a form, and one of you all will do that testing. It's very simple.
Yes, and we travel around to different schools, and so if we're not at that school and someone comes in, wants a COVID test done, then they can call us, or figure out what school we're at, and they can find us there. So,
Because I think at each site we have added signs to the doors, and what do those say?
COVID testing here.
COVID testing here, and it gives us a number. And what we are asking is that no one in the public that has symptoms, we do not want them coming to the school.
right.
We can come to their vehicle outside if they want to.
So they just make the phone call, you all will go to the vehicle if you need it, okay?
Yes.
So tell us, are we gonna be able to, like I got tested in January, can I test every month if I choose to, and how does
Yes.
that look?
Yes, you could. Same people could test. Yeah.
So at the high school level, can the student test that's 18 or over without parental
Yes, they
consent?
can if they're 18, and we have a nurse that's there all the time, and so they can go to the nurse's office at the high school and get tested.
Okay. How long does it take approximately for like if I were to walk in the door now and say I want to be COVID tested, what's the time frame roughly?
They're just like the rapid tests like you would do at home, so it's about 15 minutes to get results.
15 minutes, okay. And if they are positive, what is y'all's recommendations?
We recommend 5 days. If they had no symptoms from the day of the test, 5 days. But if they had symptoms, we can start at the symptom date and count.
But
Count
nothing's
out.
required,
No, it's all just recommendations.
all recommendations.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
is there anything else we want to add? It's very exciting that we have an opportunity to get the $300,000, but it's also an opportunity to keep our kids that much safer from COVID.
Parent-teacher conferences will be at the high school. We're teaching a CPR class that day for a couple of hours, but the other nurses will be there, so that's a good time if anybody from the public wants to come that day.
Okay, so that will be parent-teacher conferences at the high school.
At the high school,
That's
yes.
a great idea. We should be able to get several at that time.
Yes.
In addition to that, I believe there was a grant from a foundation that gave us, is it all public schools or just Altus?
There's several across the state,
Okay,
yeah.
they have inhalers, so tell
Yes.
us
Yes.
how we got those, when we
Yeah.
use them, why we use them.
It's called the Brendan McClarty Foundation, and what they did, he was a high school student. He was 16 and passed away. He wasn't able to get to an inhaler. He didn't really have bad asthma, they thought. So he all of a sudden had this emergency, and so didn't have an inhaler. And so they've sent, is it in this? Here, you already have it on. They've made it possible for our schools to have inhalers, and they sent these spacers you can attach to the inhaler. And anybody that we feel is having an asthmatic emergency, we can use that on them. In 2019, there was an Oklahoma law passed that gives us permission to use that if we feel it's necessary. So,
Okay.
yes.
And those are available at every school?
Yes.
In the offices and/or
Or
your
nurses.
office?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When would say a PE teacher or a teacher out on playground duty or in the classroom, when would they and how would they send those students to you?
Well, hopefully, if there's a student having trouble breathing, they're gonna go to their teacher and let them know. We would like for that student to go with somebody accompanied with them to the nurse office or to the front office, to where we can check them out and see if they need inhaler. It's very important they don't go by themselves, because we never know when it might be a true emergency and they could step into the bathroom and pass out or something like that, and then no one would know they were there, so.
Okay. Well, another great opportunity that we have at Alta Schools. Anything else you want to share with any of the good things going on?
Talk about the pulse oximeters.
Yeah, tell us about those.
Our principals have all ordered pulse oximeters for all of our schools, and we have them in several locations throughout every school. So if a child is having trouble breathing, or you don't know what's going on with them, but they aren't acting like themselves, something is obviously wrong, you can put one of these on their finger. It's very simple. You just put it on the finger, push the button, and it'll automatically start reading off how much oxygen they're getting and their heart rate. So you can tell immediately, okay, is this a breathing problem or maybe a panic attack? It just helps us immediately assess whether or not they're getting oxygen. So
Awesome.
you kind of know what to say when you call for help.
And if the level's high, like I'd say 98 or above, sometimes it calms them. If they're having like an anxiety attack, I'm like, look, your oxygen's great, it's better than mine. But anyway, it seems to help calm. So,
That's great.
and we have them several per building. So,
Okay. Well, I appreciate all the extra training you all do just every year just to get bigger and better. And I think now you're offering also CPR again for
yes,
some employees. So
yes.
again, thank you for all that you do to keep us safe. I know the question has come up a lot about our snow days. If you recall, the board every year votes for us to do hours as opposed to days. And so we have a set number of hours that we go. Since Altus Public Schools goes an extra 30 minutes per day, extra than required by law, we bank some time. And so throughout the whole school year, we have an extra 7 days built in with these hours. With the snow days that we had to take, or the ice days that didn't turn out to be very icy, I was 0 for 2 or 0 for 2 at first, and I finally got one right. But anyway, we have missed 4 days total. So we still have 3 days left. Hopefully we don't have to use them, but at least they're in there. Try to make that decision as soon as we can. I know you get frustrated maybe that we're waiting, but there's so many different models that we're trying to watch. But we do try to make the decision as a team the day before, so the parents especially and you all can make arrangements for your children if that's the case. So that's where we're at. We still have 3 days left, and hopefully we don't have to use them, but we do try to make that decision as quickly as possible. Any others? That's it? Okay, and as always, may God continue to bless Altus Public Schools.